Moving on to our second physiological process, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is osmosis. So first things first, let us first define what osmosis is. So this is a process whereby water molecules move from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. Now, I want to say this. Sometimes students write their definition as such, and that, my dear students, is wrong. When talking about osmosis, you have to specify, is the concentration you are referring to that of water or that of solids? Now, in case you're wondering, hey, sini nyingi, I have a better and simpler definition for you. So you can simply define it as such. Osmosis is the process whereby water molecules move from a hypotonic solution to a hypertonic solution across a semi-permeable membrane. I hope this is easier for you. Now, when it comes to osmosis, osmosis tends to be referred as a special type of diffusion. In fact, this is quite a common question whereby you are asked to explain what this statement means. Now, this refers to two things. Yes, it's called a special type of diffusion because it involves movement of particles from one region to another. But it only involves movement of water molecules, unlike diffusion. So whenever you see a question that focuses on the movement of water molecules from one point to another, that is none other than osmosis. Now, number two, the reason why osmosis is considered to be a special type of diffusion is because osmosis always takes place across a semi-permeable membrane. Diffusion, on the other hand, can happen with or without a membrane. But osmosis only happens across a membrane, and that membrane has to be semi-permeable. Why? To allow movement of water particles across it. By the way, when I talk about a semi-permeable membrane, I'm simply referring to a membrane that has small pores and therefore allows molecules that are small enough to pass across it. So there are actually several examples of semi-permeable membranes present in our body. And the most common one is the cell membrane. We also have the tonoplast. This, of course, is the membrane surrounding the sap vacuole present in plant cells. And lastly, the nuclear membrane that surrounds the nucleus. So these are three examples of semi-permeable membranes present in cells. So osmosis occurs in solutions. What do I mean by a solution? A solution is a mixture that contains a solute and a solvent. A solute is a substance that dissolves in a solvent. Solvent usually tend to be in liquid state. So an example is water. So if you have two solutions that have unequal concentrations, they have a different concentration, and these solutions are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, what will happen is that you're going to have water molecules moving from the solution that is dilute to the solution that is concentrated. So for example, if you have the following setup, you have two solutions separated by a semi-permeable membrane. How do I know that this is a semi-permeable membrane? You can clearly see that it has openings. So these openings will allow the movement of molecules small enough to pass across. So water molecules are small enough to do so, but the sugar particles are not. So you're going to have the net movement of water molecules across the semi-permeable membrane and into the solution. So when we talk about osmosis, are there factors that affect the rate of osmosis? Yes, of course. So we're going to have number one, temperature. Just like with diffusion, temperature affects the rate of osmosis. So in short, it can influence whether osmosis occurs faster or slower. And the reason for this is because temperature affects the kinetic energy of the water molecules. So an increase in temperature increases the kinetic energy of the water molecules, therefore increasing the rate of osmosis. So if you have a certain setup and you want osmosis to take place at a faster rate, you can simply increase the temperature. Another is the thickness of the membrane. As mentioned, osmosis can only happen across semi-permeable membrane. But if you have a membrane that is thinner, it's going to provide a shorter distance, and therefore water molecules are going to move at a faster rate. However, thicker membranes provide greater distance. So you're going to have a large distance that needs to be covered by the tiny water molecules, and therefore the rate of osmosis is going to be slower. Last one, concentration gradient. So, as stated before in our previous video, whereby we discussed the factors affecting the rate of diffusion. By the way, if you haven't checked the video, I highly recommend you do so. The higher the concentration gradient, the faster the rate of osmosis. So if you have a larger difference in the water molecules between two areas, you're going to have a faster rate of osmosis. Now, a lot of the application questions usually tend to come from osmosis rather than diffusion and active transport. So as a student, if you want to excel in questions featuring cell physiology, you need to practice as many questions as possible. But you need to have a guide. And that is why I recommend you check out these two videos that have numerous application questions broken down and explained in a simplified way for you. I hope you check them out. See you next time.